Be a lot easier now that we've technically done this before.
I was gonna say this is the second time we've gone through this. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So, final portion for the G1 blog with Dante or Nero versus Hellboy. This is the infamous debunk section. We've already gone through this once before on live stream. I'm currently joined by Mangler, and potentially the others will show up later. We'll see what happens. If you guys want to see more or less everyone's opinions, except maybe Devil, poor soul, you can check out the live stream. I'll maybe link it in the comments section afterwards where it's a little more fresh. So I'm going to be reading through this. I'll read the introduction, and then we'll go through it. So for seasoned Universal DMC backers, or for those who have heard of Universal DMC feats prior to this blog, you might be surprised at the lack of Universal feats in the actual blog itself. When going into feat after feat with the DMC series, along came the question of, are these feats legitimate? Now, you want to keep this question in mind because this question will only ever pop up for DMC. It never pops up for most other series.
As pointed out by the Reddit.
Actually, can you get the Reddit page or no?
Is it linked here?
I don't. It's not linked here, but I think I sent it to you in DMs. Can you go through your DMs and see if I sent it to you? Because I wouldn't mind after we're done here going through like the Reddit response, see if anyone else did it.
But I'm gonna click search Reddit.
All right. So one Kirby kid took on the task of helping fellow researcher Cyber in figuring out the context surrounding several of DMC's biggest feats. Again, we know Cyber. He's been unfortunately ignoring me or ghosting me ever since we went over G1 because he just doesn't want to talk about DMC in general with me anymore. Thankfully, he still like hits me over Final Fantasy. So, Cyber, if you're watching, thanks for the help with that one. With it came a lot of confusion, a lot of Uno reverse switches, and many headaches, as researching can be very difficult when discussing the cosmic relations of a series lore. Okay. So this section is for all the individuals who want to understand why these feats weren't listed in the blog, what this generally means for this fight, and hopefully this will open some eyes on the subject of, is Devil May Cry universal? I want to clarify, short answer no, long answer goes as follows. I want to clarify for just 1 minute that even versus Battle Wiki, which had a hard-on for never accepting Uni DMC, like, ever, under any circumstances. Even those guys now, when looking at this blog, are like, this is...
The heads are rolling.
Yeah, this was not good. In fact, the first section, Pluto, was actually reposted by Cyber in versus Battle Wiki. In fact, Cyber claims he did a more in-depth explanation for why Pluto is invalid, which we're not going to go over because it's not part of the blog. But if you want to hear a better Pluto argument, according to Cyber, he did a more in-depth discussion of it on versus Battle Wiki, which got denied because, well, the EMC guys stepped in and were like, that's wrong.
I have the Reddit open for later.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, you find the DMs and I favored it. So I got it.
All right. So we'll be addressing the following cosmic feats. Also, I'm going to go ahead and talk about how important these actually were to universal scaling. Pluto cutting the universe. This was only ever important to VSB and these guys. We had DMC at Uni Plus and higher without this. This is just kind of
never used this.
Yeah.
I don't know why people bring up Pluto like he's relevant. Nobody cares about Pluto.
Yeah, so this one always this is always kind of weird that everyone put stock on this one because Pluto was always a fan interpretation until the mobile game. And even then, we're not sure if that's even the same Pluto, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, that one's contentious.
Merging feats and separation. So Mundus, Argo Sax merging feats, separation, Sparda. Technically, other people have merging feats as well, and other objects do. We'll talk about that.
It's like moderately important. Moderately.
Mundus making space. Okay, so I love the way they word this because this should be saying Mundus making a universe, but they don't want to type that out for some reason. Void Mundus, Beast Heads. This one actually, we've already been through this one. This one literally debunks itself with its own scan. This one's great. Nightmare destroying the demon world.
I think that one also debunks itself with its own scan.
It does, I think, but we also recently got some more mobile game information that I will bring up for this video, specifically regarding Nightmare and Mundus, because
Jeez.
We recently got some choice bits here. Also, the mobile game is overseen by Capcom, so, unless direct contradiction.
Supervised directly by them.
Savior making a realm. 4D Demon World. This one's going to be fucking rich right here. I remember this one right here.
I will be taking the point on that.
And the immeasurable speed. Now, Extras, yours in shaking the world. Oh, I loved it. Oh, that's such a good one. Oh, it's gonna be great. And
That one is delicious. My favorite blog.
Beowulf making a small supernova, etc., etc. Um, Immeasurable speed's kind of a little fucked here because they technically debunk anything besides light speed. So I kind of think they should just say higher than FTL speed for like a debunk section, but that's just me.
Yeah.
We will be using canon guides alongside all other canon material to address these. Canon detailed here. I'm not going to click that because it's another fucking like Google fucking Gmail thing. Not Gmail, it's a fucking Google Docs. Mangler, if you want to click on it to explain what they consider canon, it's up to you. But it's basically two main guides used will be Artbook's Precious Tears and 3142 Graphic Arts, alongside a Japanese game guide for DMC1 and the English game guides for DMC1 through 3. Without further wait, Pluto cutting the universe. Let us begin. Actually, so before I start, Mangler, is that scan the actual scan from the official translation, or is that like the fan scanlation?
This is hang on a sec. Let me just take a quick one. We're probably going to be doing this for a little bit because fun fact for folks who are not aware, DMC1's novel, DMC2's novel, they have accuracy to their original like source material as far as their official translations. Like if you went on Divinity Statue right now and you wanted to look at them, they'd be accurate. However, DMC3's manga is not a one-to-one representation of the official translation. The official translation of that actually says some different things depending on what you're looking at.
Say it ain't so, Mangler.
So as far as that statement, right? This is the original.
Are you gonna post a scan or?
I will copy the image and send it to you.
Okay, and then I'll try and open it up on Google Docs or on Google specifically so they can see it.
Oh, you wanna?
Well, okay, you can send it to me. I'll just open it up on Discord. That's fine.
Okay.
So, for context, darkness is a demon world, but even in such a world, there was a line of light. Endless darkness, a container of chaos, and light is the human world. We're a little more off the cuff here, so it is gonna take a little bit of
Also,
time.
what I'm sending you is the official English translation. I'm going back to see if they got this as an alternate version because it is important to note that people have seen the official one and they have made translations. There's actually three different versions. There's one that uses the alternate one that's completely original in comparison to the official, and then there's a second alternate translation that actually mixes ones with the official one,
Here
which
we go.
that one is actually kind of cool.
Okay, so this is the official translation. Now, I want to stress this off by saying something very important here, because again, I
They're
am
using the
I am
alternate
friends
one.
with Cyber.
I,
Uh,
I just
they
confirmed.
they what?
I just confirmed they're using the alternate one from Divinity Statue. They're
Yeah.
not using the official.
Okay, so this is where I'm going to step in here very briefly. They do not like the official translations because the official translations add things like space and time. They add better scaling feats with context. So they despise a lot of the official translations, which
I like. Let's already like go through this and see what it adds. So it literally adds universe. That's already like massive. Universe doesn't exist there. It explains that both the darkness and the light become realms and domains, which indicates space, and it explains that they existed together for an eternity,
yeah.
as opposed to the alternate translation, which just says they existed for a really long time.
Yeah, so for context, this is the difference right here. Again, rereading this again in case you guys don't see it. Endless darkness, a container of chaos, but even in such a world, there was a line of light. Darkness is the demon world, and light is the human world. This is what the official translation says. Unending darkness, a crucible of chaos, but even to that primordial existence, which is actually more relevant now with the fucking new mobile game scans, there came a ray of light. The universe was eventually split in two. Again, unending darkness, so infinite size space. The darkness became the realm of demons, and the light became the domain of mortals. These two worlds existed together for what seemed like an eternity. So right off the bat, it was unending darkness. We also have more statements for infinite size demon world and shit. So that's just one
So
statement.
they cut off the bottom of that page. Like if you look at the Pluto, the photo they have for Pluto cutting the universe, in the bottom left hand below that like light being, I guess that's supposed to be like a human or the I'm not sure what it's supposed to be, but like where it says light is the human world, there's supposed to be a small piece of text, the bottom left of that says and they coexisted for a long time. So
Wait,
they're
so
actually
are you saying they even cut it like from their
yeah. So
actual scan?
let me actually send this. This is the alternate translation.
Okay, so that's
Alternate
breaking
translation.
news, ladies and gentlemen. They're lying about their own scans, apparently.
I don't know why they would need
I'm assuming they probably didn't think the time frame was relevant, since I'm assuming that's what happened there. Since technically, yeah, so big difference with the descriptions. The darkness is unending, infinite, stuff like that. Even after they split, we still get statements for the Doom world being endless and infinite in size. So technically, they should both be infinite size realms, but I don't really feel like throwing the human world at infinite size. Take that one as you will. Logic,
human world's got
mathematically should
separate
be.
dimensions. Human world's got separate dimensions anyway.
Okay, so hang on. So here is their, apparently according to Mangler, this is their scan from Divinity Statue.
The scan that they were using incorrectly.
So, hang on. Endless darkness is a container of. Wait, hang on a minute. They cut out two things there. Because look at the bottom right.
Oh yeah.
What? Why are they cutting things out like that? What the fuck?
I don't think it was big enough. I'm just gonna assume like
Oh, here, let me
negligence.
let me open this. Let me open the image in the tab. Maybe if I open the image. Nope. They cropped that. Because even if you open the original image, it's still cropped.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna assume that's technical difficulties. But so the world ended up separated in two, and together both worlds have continued to coexist for a long time. Yeah, that's maybe they thought that wasn't relevant. But this one with the world
Okay.
ended up separated in two is pretty relevant to the point at hand. Well,
So
eh,
before we continue, I would like to point this out. I think it's fine to use an alternate translation if you're trying to provide clarification or more information for lore purposes, even if this relates to power stealing. However, as I always say, in the event that there is a conflict and or a contradiction between the official translation that is used, which in this case would be the English one, and a fan translation that is translated from Japanese, if there is a conflict between them, meaning there's information in one that directly conflicts with what's happening in another, you need to use the official one.
for context again, the people, at least from Cyber, I know he holds fan translations much higher because the fan scanlations do directly one to one with the Japanese. For context, the Japanese language has things called kanjis, if I remember correctly, and kanjis change the meaning of words. Now, according to Cyber and his translators, they're more accurate to the original version, but the English differences are consistent across the franchise, so intent has to be there by Capcom because they
There's
have to
there's
oversee it.
also there's also the problem of like the kanji changes based on what the author wants, because kanjis are just being used as like multi-utility purpose words, much like many of the words we have in the English language. And they're used whenever an author is trying to be a little bit more nuanced or is unsure of what it is
What,
that they
just to
say.
clarify, we are not experts in Japanese,
I
so if
I
anything we're saying
I
is wrong.
I understand that. My point specifically is that there is an intent when someone puts down a set of words. And if you think they translated it inaccurately, but then are going to go on and claim that they translated it inaccurately multiple times across multiple English secondary source materials, and then reiterated and referenced them in primary source materials multiple times, and then re-released those primary source materials, aka the game, four consecutive times and didn't change anything, then it's probably fine.
Yeah, so on this channel, we'll usually take the official translations over the works of a fan scanlation.
AKA the worldwide release.
Yeah, because
The English.
Mangler has an argument for that, but we're not going to try and bottle it up here unless it becomes
We're just
relevant.
trying to say like alternate translations are fine if there's no conflict. If you're just trying to provide more context to a scan that might seem that's fine.
Yeah, like the for the most part, the essence might be there. Like, yeah, the overall general intent should be there, but the specifics might change with the official work versus a fan
One
scanlation.
final thing, and I think that this only happens in three's manga, so this won't really be applicable to like one or two or four's novel. But there are instances where the official version, and this is only applicable to secondary source materials, not applicable to primary source materials. So there is an instance where the official one would be less valid than a fan translation, and that is only if the secondary source material is directly paralleling a scene that happens in a primary source material, and the alternate translation is more accurate to the primary source material. So an example would be like,
I was gonna say
um,
you're gonna have to give an example there, no doubt.
so an example would be like Virgil's conversation with Dante in like,
DMC
well,
three.
I guess, well, something like that, or something that supports like something relevant to characters.
You can just give an example. You don't have to be hyper specific about like an
Okay,
actual event.
so an example would be in three's manga, Dante reunites with Virgil for the first time in like 10 years. And his conversation in the alternate translation is that he tells him, I'm going to raise a tower that the open Temenegru that
I'm
will
gonna raise a tower. It's gonna be so cool. It's gonna be cooler
yeah,
than anything you've ever raised.
it will open a portal to the demon world and unseal it. It will basically open the link to the demon world. Dante obviously has a problem with this. He says, "Have you lost this?" And he's like, "Hey, what are you trying to do? Open a circus?" It's like, "Mother, Mother was killed by demons." He's just like, "I know. Like, I'm sorry, but this is the only way." So that to me is extremely consistent with Virgil's personality to say something like that, where he's not making it clear that like this is something that he's like desiring to do. It's just something he feels he's obligated to do. Whereas in the official English translation, he says something completely different. He's like, "I'm gonna open the door to the demon world, and all of all of the world will tremble at the sound of my name." And it's like, I'm sorry.
That seems a
Like
little too inconsistent.
that seems very inconsistent because Virgil doesn't give a fuck what people think about him. Like that is very inconsistent with like the main source material. So I'd be willing to accept like an alternate one in that case because
If the
that is
alternate one's more closer to the source.
well, because it's more closer to a higher source material, but
Yeah.
this secondary source material is paralleling. That's the point I'm making. But there are very few examples of that happening, and only in three's manga.
Yeah.
So
All right.
now that we've done that,
Now that we've set up the prerequisite that everyone's going to ignore, no doubt.
yeah.
All right. So let me go ahead and I guess start the legendary read here of this wonderful debunk. A certain passage noted by a prophet in Devil May Cry 1 tells us Pluto shall come on the promised date and separate heaven and earth. One with black wings of treachery shall come and stand in Pluto's way. Very simple. Just go through the books in DMC 1. I don't think I really have to check the source for this one. This, in conjunction with the DMC 3 manga, is used to argue a prior demon king / god named Pluto split the realms and was then killed by Mundus. This is true. The issue is the manga statement already debunks this being a feat. Would you like to get the official translation for this one, or did they use the official translation for this manga scan?
Let's find out.
Alright, so I'm English checking that. I'll read what they have, and we'll go from there. When heaven and earth were rent asunder, so this is by Pluto, a demon god with black horns emerged from the darkness. This is apparently Mundus. Very weird description for Mundus. He hammered a giant spike into the earth so that heaven and earth would never again be split apart. Okay, that's consistent with Mundus. To prevent the spike from removing itself, he changed the Undying One to it and cast an eternal seal. Heaven in this context is the demon world. That's correct. And earth potentially refers to the whole human realm. That is also correct. Per the statement, the realms were already split before Pluto showed up. No. That's not stated here at all. Like, this is a direct quote from their scan. So Pluto could have shown up earlier. Like that doesn't say Pluto hasn't shown up yet. Furthermore, the manga reveals how the realms came to be and Pluto wasn't involved. So this is where I'm gonna say something now that might come up again. I don't know if this comes up a lot later on, Mangler, because from the last time we did this one, but omissions are not contradictions.
Oh yes, that we should have added like something. What qualifies as a contradiction? So a contradiction would be if I stated that I can like this character can move as fast as lightning, and then we had a translation that said this character can move barely faster than the speed of sound. That's a contradiction because the second one, even though the first one does support it being faster than sound, much in the second translation, the second translation indicates that it's only the person is like struggling to do this. Like the context for this is like how much of an effort it is on one,
Yes.
whereas the other person would be much much faster. The other translation would be much much faster. That is a direct contradiction.
So, per the statement, the realms were already split before Pluto showed up. Okay, so this is the exact quote they have up here. Wait, hang
So
on. No, it's not.
heaven and earth were rent asunder. A demon god with black horns emerged from the darkness. He hammered a giant spike into the earth so that the heaven and earth would never be split apart. To prevent the spike from removing itself, he changed the undying one to and cast an eternal spell. So I am looking at the
Wait, wait, hang on. So, I'm sorry, I went a little further down. They use the official translation in the
yeah,
second link down there. What the
but
fuck? Why
they
don't they
don't
just use that
they
up here?
yeah, so they use the alternate translation scan for the first page of the manga, but for Arkham's explanation of the worlds, they use the official version. That's kind of funny because they later on they're gonna mention we're gonna mention this. They have a very big problem with demons' names being their power, and you want to know what's very blatant? The official translation. And guess what, folks? It is literally an inch below the statement that they just mentioned. It's on the exact same page, and it's in three bubbles below that.
Are you suggesting they don't use the official translation? That could easily
I
solve
am
the problem.
suggesting that lies and dishonesty are at play here.
All right. So again, so Mangler, if you go down from the Heaven and Earth one, they do use a portion of the original official translation for the first page. So they do go back to the official one to use it for context.
Wait, where did they get that?
I don't know. Apparently, they didn't have it for the original scan up here. I do
And it's,
apologize if this video drags on a little bit, but we're gonna have some fun with this.
yeah, we're gonna be here a while.
The manga goes into how it was a natural ray of light. This is dishonesty at its finest. There is no statement that a primordial beam of light is a natural random beam of. It's not a fucking flashlight in the dark. It literally created the human world. That's
It
supposed to
just
be a random in a world of darkness. That is in a primordial existence. This is just a natural ray of light. Someone wants to turn on the fucking light downstairs or something.
all it says is, but even to that primordial existence there came a ray of light. Nothing states it's natural.
And it would
Nothing.
be highly strange if it was natural, given what it causes.
It literally says it's unending darkness, a crucible of chaos. So it's literally just like nothingness floating around for an eternity, and then like fucking ray of light just comes shooting out of like
Nothing
nothing,
but darkness everywhere.
and it's just like, yeah,
Like,
that's natural. That's natural.
and
That's
not
like,
only that, but this light creates the human world, all its stars, planets, and everything, and separates it in space at the
and
bare minimum.
I'm sure there's a natural
I'm
explanation.
clearly not buying the right fucking lights, like fucking fuck light bulbs.
Seriously, I guess this also means that like any light source can just like dim out completely and just become shrouded in darkness. Or
And
like
I
we
guess light
the
just
opposite is
separates
also true.
space on a fundamental level, then, given that it's a primordial fucking darkness.
Also separates time apparently too. Wait, that's
Damn, maybe DMC light's a lot. Maybe DMC light's a lot stronger than we give it credit for. Okay, let's split the original Dark World into two. There's really no reason why Pluto would be this ray of light, except he could be, and it would make perfect sense. But I guess a normal ray of light that has no special properties makes more sense to create the universe, right? Okay. Especially if he's destined to eventually separate them back again, just cause. Okay, so this is where things get a little weird here. Because their argument is that the promised date hasn't happened yet, but it could have already happened. It just says that Pluto shall come on the promised date and separate heaven and earth. This could have already happened, and nothing would change.
so this is like the Judaism argument, but for DMC.
Kind of fitting, all things considered, given what we know about DMC's cosmology now.
Well, I guess it wouldn't be because you need all of them.
He also places a spike for the realms not to be separated, which contradicts DMC1, tells us about his intentions. Okay, so where's the contradiction? No, no,
Wait,
no, okay, no, so this is wrong. Yeah, no, they actually read this scan wrong. See, the way you read this is Pluto separates heaven and earth, then Mundus, the demon god with black horns, shows up, beats the shit out of Pluto, and then hammers the giant spike into the earth. This is how everyone else has read it because that's the way it makes the most sense.
also, are they about to say? Are they about to say like the spike is like a? I don't know if they will mention this because like it might be like inflation, but like, is it going to be like, hey, the spike's a problem because Pluto's supposed to use a spear?
Let's see.
Both of those can be exactly the same thing, right? Like you have the point, an edge of a spear is effectively a spike when impaled in like a wall
It's
or a plaything.
it's more like he's just a destined figure to do so. Again, this destiny could have already occurred. That like this statement, you can read it that way, unless of course another English major would like to come in and like tell me that's completely 100% wrong. But I'm pretty sure you can read it that way just fine. Uh,
Mm.
how he would do so isn't really clear, and as will be discussed down below, would most likely be Haxt related. This one's
Why?
rich. This one is absolutely rich, especially because Cyber himself ended up bringing some new information after my initial G1 blog visit that seems to support it not being hacks, but it wouldn't be hacks to begin with because of other sources we have. Other issue is the dialogue differences in the manga description and the game description. Just to clarify here, there's nothing wrong here. They are suggesting that the demon god with black horns is still Pluto, even though Pluto's goal is to separate heaven and earth. You can just say Mundus is the demon god with black horns. And before someone says, well, Mundus isn't a demon god with black horns, that's true, but he's also not a white statue. He is an orange blob that can create whatever form he wants. Because he
And
created that white statue form. So he could appear as a black, like, I didn't mention this last time I went through it, but he could make a form like that if he wanted
I
to.
understand that Mundus's form, like, I mean, I have my own thoughts on him being like a blob, but as far as the statue thing, I've always been under the assumption that the reason he wants to like be that way is because of what the developers have said about his appearance, and that he's intended to be a god. Like he's literally intended to just be a god. They only refer to him explicitly in the DMC1 guidebook as a god. So his appearance would be whatever he perceives a god to be. So if that includes black horns, fair game.
Yeah, so his appearance is not entirely important. Now, again, Pluto is not really a big deal for us personally, but if you were to use Pluto, this does not debunk Pluto. They're just reading it specifically wrong, or they're more accurately, they're reading it in a very favorable way to suggest that they're right. But you can read it the other way and just add Mundus as the character, and it makes perfect sense lore wise.
I would say dishonest because they use two different translations for different scans instead of using two translations for the same scan. And it wasn't falling under the rules that I mentioned before where there wasn't like enough clarification. They just went for the one that they wanted,
So,
and apparently they cropped
uh,
out words.
this is just the manga spike thing. This is just the game thing. Not gonna read it again. The manga Pluto wants to keep the worlds together. No, this is never stated to be Pluto. Again, Pluto is never mentioned in the manga directly. That's why again we don't really care too much about Pluto because it was really much a versus Battle Wiki fan thing to fill in the gaps of lore. It's not wrong, and it does make sense if you assume the demon god with black horns is Mundus and that Pluto just separated the realms with the light the first time. Makes perfect sense lore wise, but again, they're trying to twist the argument to where everything means Pluto and that's it. Even though they literally say Pluto. They're saying Pluto's not mentioned as the ray of light, but Pluto's the demon god with black horns, despite never being named whatsoever. A little suspicious. Game Pluto wants them separate. There is narrative contradiction that further complicates the legitimacy of the separation in the manga being credible to Pluto in the first place. They don't mention narrative contradiction. It is quite likely that the entity shown in the manga simply isn't Pluto, given that it's never stated to be him. Okay, so then they could have just said, like, this entire Pluto section could have legitimately just been Pluto is never mentioned, and we have no proof this is Pluto, therefore this feat is not valid. They could have just said that, and it would have been a better fucking argument than this entire bullshit they posted here.
You're gonna find, folks. You're gonna find that we will be running into that problem a lot.
Like here, I could solve this entire. I could solve this entire first section. Just say Pluto's never named, and it's an assumption, so they don't want to use it. There, much better first section, much shorter. No need for all these multiple different scans and different sources of scans instead of just using the official translation. No need for all that. Just give your honest statement. No statement of Pluto being existing. Don't use it. Perfect. No one would judge you for that. That would be a fine position to take.
All right, on to number 2. Merging and separating the realms, Mundus slash Argo Sax slash Sparda. Okay, so here you can find the main arguments for realm merging and DMC entailing complete universal fusion.
Okay, so I believe this links you to Versus Battle Wiki. Yes, this does link you to Versus Battle Wiki. This is Versus Battle Wiki's big blog, which summarized
Don't
it.
care. Not our argument.
I'm just letting people know, Mingler. Needless to say, once again, the very text used shoots the argument in the foot. This is gonna be rich.
Well, let's find out how.
Okay. I will go ahead and read this. According to legend, a dark prince of the underworld mustered a great army of evil. That's infinite in size, according to DMC2's novel. And slew the former god of evil. So again, this is Mundus killing Pluto, which again, if you take him as the black demon god horn of the darkness, boom, problem solved, lore saved. Then the Overlord planned to break through the thin veil separating the underworld from the human world, uniting the land of eternal darkness with the world of light. All right, solid plan. Mundus knows what he wants. A go-getter, if you will. Break through the thin veil. So for those who are unaware, there is a dimensional barrier that divides both the demon world and the human world, and also divides sections of the demon world. Let's not ignore that one there, fellas.
Well, technically that one's just like time spaces in general, but whatever.
The dimensional wall between the demon world and the human world can be said to be like a net. Just to clarify, this wall was not always there. They're gonna say it always was and shit, but we'll talk a little more about that, more specifics. High-ranking demons cannot come to this world unless favorable conditions have been met due to their power, but low-ranking demons are able to easily pass through this net. Where does the scan actually come from, Mingler? Oh, it's from the Marionette.
From the Japanese one guidebook.
Right, Japanese guidebook, never officially translated, by the way, just their fan translation, but it's fine. The fan translations, if we can't have
Because
official ones, it's fine.
We don't have an official one, so we can only take like that interpretation.
Yeah. This is consistent even with statements in DMC5 about the same barrier with the Hellcana. They don't do a good job of actually Well, I don't know why these are zoomed in, but whatever. Or is that my? Yeah, it's my thing. Oh, there we go. Right here. Time was these things only appeared on the mortal plane by possessing a wooden doll, a lump of clay, or something similar. Now these creeps walking around Redgrave are the genuine article. It's a sign that the barriers between the demon world and the human world are breaking down. All right, excellent. Messing with the barrier can cause the demon world to bleed into the human world naturally. And we'll talk a little bit about that. Which is supported by the DMC2 novel. Not sure where. In it, Dante goes to an alternate universe where Mundus succeeded with his plan to remove the barrier, and the demon world begins terraforming the human world. This is actually blatant dishonesty. The actual statement says that Mundus's power has infected basically everything because Mundus has become the demon world by this point. He's become the source of all its power. In fact,
also would be narratively inconsistent because
let me see if I can get the actual scan while you're talking.
I was gonna say it would be narratively inconsistent to say that there's a dimensional barrier because that first of all those didn't come into existence. They were put there by Sparda. Sparda in the alternate timeline does not succeed in freeing humanity. That doesn't happen. In the alternate timeline, he loses to Mundus. He gets poisoned by a bunch of humans and gets delivered to them while he's like paralyzed, and then Mundus kills him. He never erects a barrier around the human world. And in this alternate timeline continuity, Void Mundus has been existing since the beginning of like time, or completely independent of the flow of time, and he'll outlive it. Like he exists as the creator of that universe. There's no like. You want to say something?
Oh yeah, I was gonna bring up the screenshot here. So this is a spy. The King of the Underworld knows we've allied with Shadow and the other rebels. What is that thing? Just a bug, but look at the way it glitters when I turn it. It's been bathed in Mundus's power, and now it serves as his eyes and ears. Dante flicked a dead beetle to the ground. So the only thing that's infected the human world is the energy that Dante's not sure where it comes from. It feels like the human world, but he knows it's not the same. Because Mundus, again, it's Mundus's power that bathed the area. It's why the bugs have Mundus's power bathed on them, because Mundus has become the nexus of power in the demon world. He's become its source. Or at the bare minimum, its center. It's all connected to him by this point. So they're kind of wrong there. The demon world does not naturally infect the human world. That statement is never given. The implication is that Mundus himself does it when he becomes the Nexus, or as the Nexus.
Not to mention, like, you don't even need to have the dimensional wall there as part of the discussion. They just mentioned, like, this is like a different universe where, like, Mundus, like, wins, essentially, where he
Never
succeeds
lost.
using the human. Well, yeah, well, because he's literally stated to be the sole ruler of creation for timeless eternity.
Yes.
Like, he's been the ruler since the beginning of time. No one has challenged him. There is no other demon kings. There's no Pluto. There's no Argo Sax. None of that. He's the only one that's been there. So there wouldn't be any dimensional wall. Um, so in this instance, if he wants to take over the human world, then he would, and that's what he did.
Yes. So while we are told by the DMC3 manga, Mundus wanted the realms to be one, and DMC4 uses the word fusion for what happened, this just links the fucking cutscenes. I don't know what cutscene says fusion. Mengler, maybe you know which one it is?
Hang on. I can't.
Or you know, I think it might be during. I think it might be at the start with Sanctius' speech.
Yeah.
It was a chain reaction, not an actual feat for Mundus. So this is blatantly false because even if you want to argue, like, so here's the even if you want to argue the demon world merges with the human world naturally, the process is not. It's not quick. It takes a long time. Even over the course of a month in DMC5 with the barrier down and literally a god in the fucking tower, it still takes forever for the demon world to bleed in. And according to Nero, the demon world's like barely taking over by the end of DMC5. So it's a pretty slow process.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. Like the demon, there have been multiple statements throughout the series that demons, generally speaking, like they just do not have their powers in the human world, and they are very weak in the human world. So it makes sense that like the demon world itself has a difficult time assimilating the human world itself because it's operating in an area where it's not naturally like you know it's not supposed to be there.
Kind of like my ex-wife, you know. Sorry.
So they say the same applied for novel Mundus, as explained in this section. The official translation for the DMC3 manga also notes that nothing about realm fusion, only the notion to rule them as one. Why would you assume if Mundus is trying to rule both realms that it wouldn't be fusing them directly?
Also, so does the official translation say these realms were once whole or these realms were once one? You know, why can't they be again? Or is that the fan
He
translation?
says these realms were once united, so why not rule them as wait, hang on a minute. Hold up.
These realms were once united, so why not rule them as one?
Hey, guess what, guys? My bullshit alarm just went off.
And what does that mean?
You know what that means? We gotta check the official version to see if that statement is valid.
This might be the official version because it looks like these statements there are like looks like this is actual text there. But even
Oh,
then, by their own logic, there would still be merging occurring. So they're trying to attribute this merging not to Mundus but to the demon realm itself.
oh, oh! I know why they didn't use the alternate one. You want to know what the alternate one says?
Or are you saying they're cherry picking their version of the alternate official one now?
Yep. He says, however, the king of the world of darkness soon said, "What is wrong with reuniting this world that was once one?" Hmm.
Reuniting it, almost like he'd be putting it back together, like combining it together, reuniting it.
Perhaps using it in.
Perhaps merging it, if you will.
Oh my goodness!
Okay, so they're not even going to be consistent with where they use their scans for, which is fantastic. Always gotta love that when you're doing this.
See,
For
we don't
argument's sake, let's say fusion did happen. We have no method of fusion or exact time frame. The DM world is infinite in size. It would not need a time frame because he'd still be moving in infinite
It
space
also
time.
it
Well,
also has
multiple.
multiple time spaces.
Yeah.
So they literally have to be merging time and space across like a spectrum beyond infinite. So it wouldn't even matter what the time frame is.
Also, no
Completely.
method of fusion. We would just assume Mundus with his raw power can do it, which is actually supported by the Beast Heads later on, which we'll talk about.
And And by the fact that Mundus's name means universe and he is
As
creation.
detailed below for Argo Sax. Oh yeah, I can't wait for them to talk about this fucking guy. And parts in the Void Mundus section, messing with the Veil barrier causes the DM world to bleed in naturally. Only DMC5 supports that. None of the other games do. In fact, for context, DMC3 literally opens the portal to the demon world, and we never get any statements about it bleeding out into like reality. Because it takes fucking forever if it even does that much. DMC4,
Also,
the portal opens, there's no bleeding. DMC1, the portal opens, there's no bleeding. We'll talk about DMC2 when we get to it.
oh wait, are they trying to assert that it just happens like it
They are
happens
asserting that
in,
whenever the demon world opens up at all, it will naturally bleed into the human world at the speed necessary to justify this feats.
did they play any games that were not 5?
No, probably not.
Every single game. That's untrue.
Messing with the Veil barrier causes the demon world to bleed in naturally at a very slow rate at best if you want to take 5's information into account, but 5 would be inconsistent with the other depictions. So there is no direct evidence of Mundus literally fusing realms as an AP feat. They have no counter argument whatsoever, and they're literally just cherry picking evidence at this point. Also, this barrier didn't exist until after Sparda stepped in, but we'll talk a little more about that when Sparda gets in here.
Also, choose novel.
And also, Two's novel is also being used wrong as well, but you know, at this point, can we expect any of it to be used correctly? As for Sparda separating the realms, he does it via a seal. This is true, which is explicitly hacks and not AP. Before we do that, let me actually go ahead and just let me check something here real quickly. I just wanna check and see if I can find this real quickly. Relevant. You know how to search for people's actual posts or no?
No, I do not.
Well, hang on. Did he leave my server?
Oh,
No, he didn't. Okay, so he's still there. From. Hang on, guys. I am terribly sorry about this. Let's see. Oh my goodness. Where the hell? Ah. This is so annoying. Okay, so basically, Cyber provided a scan that does confirm fucking Sparda used his power to fucking seal the demon world. I'm trying to like pull it up specifically so I can quote the exact thing. Let me see if I pinned it. Oof.
you failed us.
Okay, hang on. Maybe this one. Hang on. I know I got video going on, but it's like this would be really great if I can just read you the exact quote. Son of a gun. Where is it? So let me scroll down here. You keep talking.
So I was just looking at one of their scans, just trying to make sure they posted it correctly.
Hang on. Oh my goodness. This is so embarrassing. Oh, here we go. A long time ago, a demon fought for the sake of humans. He was the one who used the mighty power of his sword to split off the demon world and then his own all-powerful force afterwards. So, Cyber himself found in the Japanese version, here, let me go ahead and actually, let me go and see if I can't get that for you. Let me go ahead and,
We can also just use DMC5. DMC5 directly states that Sparda, when he made his swords, sealed his power and split it into 3 different weapons. One of which, being Yamato, was used to seal off the underworld. So even if you want to say it was facts that Yamato created, those facts were created directly via Sparda's AP.
which is consistent, as we'll get to when we get to the beast heads. But again, so just to clarify here, he does it via a seal, but according to the original Japanese version, which they absolutely fucking adore, it states that he used the mighty power of his sword to split off the demon world, which is a direct AP feat. So the seals are also AP based as well, because DMC hacks correlate with AP, but you know, we'll talk about that when we get to the beast heads.
As shown by the fact that when Sparda dies, his
Seals
seal begins to to weaken on Mundus. In fact, the only seals that he has that don't break are the ones that are tied to other things, or tied to specific weapons like the Arcanas in 2 on Vito Marley, or the Hellgate and Fortuna that's tied to Yamato specifically, or the stuff involving Timonaguru, because those aren't just sealed by his power; those are sealed by like multiple other requirements that are unrelated to Sparda.
Yes. So let's continue. Which is so again, this entire argument is completely debunked now, even with just one scan of the Japanese statement confirming it's his power. The realms don't auto-merge when his seal is weakened. One might argue the barrier brought above is the seal, but that is contradicted by the veil existing prior to Sparta defeating Mundus, as we are told here. This is actually wrong. DMC5 unironically retcons that with the Clyphot tree. We'll talk a little bit about that right now. So right here, then the Overlord planned to break through the thin veil separating the underworld from the human world, uniting the land of eternal darkness with the world of light. But one of his foremost soldiers, blah blah, Sparta defeated him. That's all we need for that one. So there was a barrier there, but it was very weak because the Clyphot fruit grew for Mundus to gain the power he did. In fact, even Trish states that in order for Mundus to conquer the demon world, he needed the Clyphot fruit in DMC5. Which means that the realms had to have been merged enough for the fruit to grow in the human world because that's how the tree grows. So that barrier probably got retconned out of the series, if we're being honest. Just saying.
And DMC1 instruction manual also confirms that after he gains his power, which happens over a short period of time, he declares himself the Emperor of the Demon World. So right after he gets the fruit, he's immediately like, I am the Emperor of Darkness.
And then my boy with the 1 IQ Argo Sax is like, oh, look at all these powers I have.
Nope, you're going down.
Face me, coward. Given this, it's likely he isn't separating anything physically, just further hacks reinforcement to prevent demons from crossing over to the human world. Again, this entire argument is debunked, but you know what? Let me show you guys the Discord thing real quickly, just so you guys can actually see it for yourselves. Let me copy and paste this into my DMs with Mangler, and that way you guys can just see it firsthand real quickly. Here. Just so you guys know I'm not lying to you, and if you guys want to check this for yourself, you're more than welcome to. So let me go ahead and pop open Discord. Can you guys see it? Discord's having some issues. Where's my Discord at?
I see it myself.
Okay, so there we go. So if you can see right down there, unfortunately I can't zoom in, but it says right here, here's the Japanese text if you'd like to see that, if you'd like to get that yourself. A long time ago, a demon fought for the sake of humans. He was the one who used the mighty power of his sword to split off the demon world, and then his own all-powerful force afterwards. So again, his sword split off the demon world, not, a hack's ability. It was his actual AP. So this entire section's already bunked. But again, there's more evidence to support that, again, hacks are supported directly by AP. There's also the fact that all of Sparta's seals are hacks-based. No. The keys are items. But that doesn't mean the seals themselves are hacks-based, because something has to power the seal. It's not just the fucking keys. Sparda used his own blood, allegedly, I'm kidding, along with the blood of a human priestess, Lady's ancestor, which kind of begs the question, did Lady have more than one ancestor, or did the priestess just not die? Because the way Arkham says it sounds like she died, but Lady shouldn't be around at that point, unless she had the child before?
According to 3's manga, or according to 3's instruction manual, apparently the priestess was a virgin. So...
What? Okay, so clearly there's more issues going on here than this.
Yeah, you would just say a blood relation then. That was related.
In conjunction with his sword and a mystical amulet. This would be the perfect amulet. He poured his demonic energy into his beloved sword to close the door between realms and Temene grew. I believe this is stated from the DMC5. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Here we go. The world of demons was once connected to the world of man. The one who ruled the demon world set sights on conquest for the human world. So again, they're connected according to the scan, which would debunk their barrier argument that, there was a barrier before Sparda. Again, it got retconned out probably. However, one demon rose up against the demon king and fought to protect mankind, the pacifist Sparda. Wielding a massive sword that shared his name, Sparda laid the demon king and his subordinates to rest. To lay the demon king to rest along with his subordinates, gently, of course, because he is a pacifist after all. He then sealed the gate connecting both the worlds using a sword as the key. Okay, so notice the sword is the key, but that's not saying that that's what it's used to seal it with. He seals away the gate and then puts a key in it afterwards. Like, he still has to seal it AP-wise. While most records offer little no details about this weapon, whatever. Alright, it's fine. He also used the Yamato to close the Hell Gates, and the functionality of Yamato is spatial manipulation, which is directly a portion of his own power, which powers this hacks, but whatever.
Also completely, not completely true. It's spatial and time manipulation.
That is true. Because the barrier between the worlds is space-time based as well, so there's plenty of evidence that's space-time. And the power to separate humans or demons from humanity, which only really applies to 2 fucking people. Not sure why I ever had that power to begin with. We are also told he used the Yamato to split the worlds, which is consistent with a blade fragment creating gaps between a dimensional barrier between the worlds. So to clarify, they acknowledge that Yamato directly separated the worlds with its power. The power that was given to it by Sparda, which is a fraction of his power, and the smallest fraction of, well, not the smallest fraction, but it's the sword Sparda has the most power. We don't know how much Rebellion and the other one have, but the point is that they agree Yamato split the worlds, and Yamato is powered by Sparda's power, and then Virgil's, once Virgil
also Yamato's function just gives powers and abilities based on like people's interpretation of how the blade works, which means when Sparda constructed and made the weapon, he would have had to give it the ability to do that. So
it also helps out that every time someone picks up Yamato, they get an AP amp as a result. For example, they mentioned the blade fragment creating gaps between the dimensional barrier between the realms, but something tells me they don't mention what that blade fragment does to a specific demon in question.
Almost like that demon makes a claim that as soon as it breaks, that he's unable to fight Dante, and even gave up because he was like, "Yeah, I was gonna go and kill Argo."
Almost like the actual shard is an AP amp that allowed him to do all that.
It's almost like it was also the only thing that kept him from dying in the fight, and as soon as it was broken, he lost almost immediately.
Almost like it's not just hack space, but also sheer raw demonic power, but that'd be crazy.
And it's funny because this scan doesn't actually mention
Said demon.
No, it doesn't actually mention Nero's thoughts on the shard of Yamato. Would you like to know what Nero says?
Oh, well, by all means.
He says even a fragment of the blade has unimaginable power.
Wait,
unimaginable
that sounds like
ability.
Raw power.
Power. The guy that's had it for like 5 or 6 years looks at one shot and is like, "That's."
That's a little strange. Are you sure he didn't say the hacks was so great? Are you sure he didn't say his abilities?
I heard it right the first time.
Okay, obviously we're having a little bit of a laugh here, but the sword amps you. It amped Nero back in DMC4, and yes, Nero does demonstrate the spatial cuts. We showed this in the last stream, but whatever. So it does give power amps. It empowers you because the sword is powered by Sparda's power, and with Sparda's power, it can perform the hacks it does. Keep in mind that if you think like, wait, so Sparda had the power to cut through anything? Yeah, probably. I mean, he was literally considered a god among gods. And that's actually not a joke either, because we actually have a god in DMC2 that...
You could honestly just argue that Sparda knew what its powers and abilities are and preferred to use one over the other, because his official description for Yamato is that it divides and conquers the darkness, which effectively means Yamato is an anti-demon weapon in Sparda's hands. So he wouldn't need any other abilities with it, because it's very explicitly intended to kill demons.
Yes. So he also helped seal Argo Sax in the demon world and sealed Mundus away as well. Yes. The Philosopher's Stone in the first game is also used to unseal the demon world. None of these seals are AP feats. No, they haven't demonstrated any of that whatsoever.
Also, the Philosopher's Key doesn't like unseal the demon world.
It just opens the portal to Mundus's house.
Yeah, hey. It's not even the demon world. It's just the one portal to the underworld on Malay Island, not the full demon world. That's an enclosed dimension.
Yeah. So also we don't know how he sealed Mundus specifically. Oh, hang on. There's something down here. Devil Man. Oh, this is a Japanese translation. I take it for the second game guide scan.
Hang on.
About 2,000 years ago, according to legend, when snow was falling on a clear, freezing night on Earth. No, this is the official. A fierce devil prince was born in the deep darkest pits. Within a short time, he gained his full powers and took over the devil throne. His first act as ruler was to declare himself the emperor of the devil kingdom. Then Argo Sax showed up and was like, our kingdom. His next feat was an invasion of the human world. His plan was to conquer it and rule over both the lower and upper realms. Let's see here. But a powerful devil knight known as Sparda took pity on the humans for their brave transient lives. Notice how they mention powerful here. I gotta look at you guys. Very important they mention powerful here. Leading a rebel force, he defeated all the devil rulers' armies and finally imprisoned the emperor himself in a sealed vault. No statement here that it's not power-based or anything. Strange. Let me go ahead and check the first one as well. What? Oh. This is from what? What? Hang on, I'm so confused.
This one is from the one you just read is from the instruction manual. For one.
No, I just clicked on a scan, but it took me to DMC5 instead of like the guidebook because they have a second guidebook statement here. According to legend, 2,000 years ago, snow was falling, freezing earth. A fierce devil prince was born in the darkest pits of the underworld. He grew rapidly, devil throne. Oh no, this is the exact same thing. Yeah.
Also, I love how they failed to mention within a short period of time he gains his full powers and took over the devil throne. Almost like something happened sporadically that gave him the power to do that.
Almost like something that would confirm there was no barrier there to begin with because it was already merged when he first appeared. Well, no. Well, actually, technically it would be. Hang on, man. I confused myself there for a second.
Well, so they could be separate and there doesn't have to be a veil. That's completely fine.
Well, okay.
It's just that Mundus is just like, well, there's no barrier, there's no dimensional wall, so I can just leave the demon world, open a portal to it, and fuse it directly. They're still separated by higher to lower dimensions, but
regardless of them being connected or not, or there being a barrier there, Sparda still separates them, Mundus still scales, Mundus can still merge them. That all still applies. I just confused myself because I'm trying to prove there was no barrier there. But I'm also like, wait, Mundus, what are you doing?
Because they have a weird interpretation about how they believe this because they think the veil is still valid.
Yeah.
Because they're just like, the Qliphot's not even considered. I'm like, the Qliphot has literally created all life. I feel like that's kind of important.
A little like fucking brain mess up there. Of course, you could just assume that there is still you could assume they're still separate regardless because when the demon world starts taking over in DMC5, it does nothing to the human world, like at all. Seriously, there's no weird shit going on whenever the demon world is open. It could literally just be connected and it would just be fine. Mundus could just be merging it further, like his novel counterpart did by infusing his power into the human world. So yeah, none of these seals are AP feats. Again, we already discussed Cyber's information that he added afterwards. So, which again, I think Cyber found after the fact, so that's why it's not here. I'm sure if he knew it was there, he would have told the guy, and that would have, been explained.
Even without that, we already explained that he put his power
into Yamato, which can directly split the worlds, which is just a more blatant feat.
And Yamato's powers and abilities work.
It also should be worth noting that if Yamato can split the worlds, and you just assume the sword can do it, I know one guy who can block the sword with his own sword, and I know another guy who can also tank blasts and attacks from the sword. I'm just saying, they seem to be able to tank attacks from the sword that can separate the universes.
The sword is canonically weaker than the Sparda sword, which is made from most of Sparda's strength.
And it's almost like there's a couple guys who can tank blows from that and fight that directly. But what would I know about how power works?
Argo Sax time.
Yes, Mr. 1 IQ. Perfect. I want to point out this is my favorite Demon King, by the way.
Just insults his intelligence every fucking chance he gets.
Dude, it's more fun if he's just like a brain dead blob that just has all the powers of the demon world.
I like to think he's a little bit more intelligent than that.
I don't, because it kind of questions how he didn't beat Mundus. Whatever, not the point. As for the infamous Argo Sax statement, or feat, so this is Argo Sax merging the realms. Very simple, very easy to understand. Go check out the original blog for more information if you really care about that this much. This is more of a feat for the demon world and not directly Argo Sax. We are directly told it's the demon world that will consume the human world. Right here. It's right in the middle here. No, right here. It's right at the bottom, my bad. So, Matiere summons the legendary devil hunter Dante. Having known his father Sparda in previous years, she is certain that his skills will be necessary to stop the evil and prevent the demon world from consuming our dimension. Just to clarify, the barrier is still up at this point, so something has to remove the barrier to begin with in order for the demon world to enter. Just to clarify, that is consistent across the series, regardless of how you feel about the barrier. So something has to open the fucking door, which has to break apart
Well,
the barrier separating two infinite-sized dimensions at bare minimum.
let's also remember at this point, Argo Sax is still sealed away, and we'll get into this more in detail later. But spoiler alert: Arius doesn't complete the ritual. He fails.
Yeah, so there's gonna be a slight contradiction potentially when we get to the Arius description for the guide for the art book, but we'll talk about that when we get to it. But yeah, to clarify, Arius does not cause the weird shit going on. He can't because the actual fucking ritual is incomplete. So Arius saying the world is already warped. Okay, this is just a meme. This is a meme argument. I'm sorry to anyone who takes this seriously. This is not a good argument.
Like Arius has better statements in that exact like cutscene that have nothing to do with that.
Yes, and we will talk about those at some point in probably a bigger video. Does not inherently prove the entire universe was being warped. In general, DMC suffers from people generalizing world to mean universe every time it is said, despite books, manga, games, and animes having different writers. So this was actually funny because we actually fact checked that one on the live stream.
So tilted when they said this. So I will state this again: books, mangas, animes having different writers. Bingo Moriarty, who is the main writer for the DMC games, wrote the story and directed the main story. He was the main story writer for DMC 3, DMC 4, and DMC 5. He also had a hand directly in the details that went into four's novel, because four's novel literally was stuff that was cut from the game.
So you could argue four's novel might be the more
it
the more
it
intentional story, but obviously there's higher canon with the game since that's what came out.
It is the more intentional story. There is some inconsistencies, yes, but it is the more intentional story, at least based on what we've gotten from like Matt Walker and Suno, because they constantly reference stuff from it all the time.
So if you technically want the true DMC4 story, you should probably pick up the novel at some point or read it on Divinity Statue. Great website.
Also, Five's novel as well, also written by Bingo.
I believe he also had a hand in 2's novel and 2, if I'm not mistaken, right?
I think that was written by someone else, but even though 3 and 5's manga were written by different people, they were also overseen directly by Insuno. You know who else oversaw the anime, the games, and all the secondary source material? Insuno. So, if one man oversaw all of that, directed all of the games from 2 onwards. His main story writer wrote the scenarios for 2 of the 2 novels accompanying the 3 games and the main story details for 3 additional games. Why would you say that it's a generalization that human world means universe?
So this is actually what I wanted to bring up here, and this is important. The guy who made DMC3, or who did all things Mangler's mentioning for 3, 4, and 5, he did the translation work for DMC2.
That wouldn't surprise me.
No, it's on the wiki. You can check it out right there. He was brought in for DMC2.
And
so he's been with the series as long as the series has left the fucking Kamiya's hands.
Yeah, so he's been here since 2003. And
yes.
He's still here.
Yeah.
I don't know what this every example of differentiation is that they're referring to. That there are what different writers? Who are the different writers? Source? Wait, this statement isn't sourced.
Oh, okay. Is this going to be DMC2's opening line where they just refer to the in the Age of Darkness when the Earth was overrun by demons? No, DMC2 is a very localized story. That's not a contradiction. Also, notice how it's Earth and not world. So even if they want to argue that Earth doesn't mean the universe, fine. Earth doesn't mean universe, but every time world is mentioned, it means universe or the human world in most contexts.
Also, if we want to, it's funny they use that, but they won't use DMC1 because when Trish explains that 20 years ago Mundus tried to resurrect, it literally shows a scan in of the solar system, and it scans in right outside Earth. like right outside Earth. And it's like, what? You think that's the entire human world? We can literally see space and stars in the background. Like,
The only areas shown affected are the island the game takes place and the sky overhead. This is very fallacious, but just to clarify, DMC2 is a very localized game. We only care about the island. Some of us care less about the island than others.
I guess by their logic, we can't say that Cell can destroy a solar system in Dragon Ball because even though that he states it, we don't see him actually affect the solar system.
Or how about a better one? In a zombie apocalypse game, if you get no confirmation the zombie apocalypse exists outside your city, it doesn't exist outside your city.
Great. So in like basically if I guess if a Resident Evil outbreak is happening and it's not stated that it's happening everywhere, you just assume the Ouroboros Corporation is affecting like Raccoon City exclusively. It's not anywhere else.
But Resident Evil is also a more localized situation. But like, imagine Resident Evil 5, like, oh well, they mentioned BOWs are being sold, but we only get told they're being sold in Africa directly. So then they're only sold in Africa then.
We have multiple examples that we could just keep going. The
The,
point
the,
is
the general idea gets across is
ridiculous.
that, again, this is an omission argument. Because we're not directly told all of creation is being affected, therefore only what we see is being affected, despite the human world like being fucking the head time freezing around the human world, if I recall correctly.
As if a lack of details makes makes valid a contradiction.
Now,
No,
now, just to clarify as well, even if you want to argue the human world's not being fully affected, the entirety of the demon world is being affected by this, and we'll get to that. So that's still a valid feat. Things have gotten extreme. Oh, here, let me actually read the direct scan. There we go. So things have gotten weird in the southern township of Vita Damil. Fuck.
Vito Mali.
Yeah, Vita Mali that just completely butchered that in a way I never even thought possible.
Give a chance to redeem yourself.
Vita Mali, the city no longer extends from the southern tip to the middle of the island. The entire town's been warped by the approach of the demon world. Keep in mind, demon world, it's the entire demon dimension. Into a vicious infinite circle. So right off the bat, the entire demon world is moving in response to this. Just throwing that one out there. And what was once recognizable now connects together in ways you never thought possible. I actually got lost. To open the gateway out of this bizarre realm, you must locate 4 globes and strike them until a ring forms around each. Only then will you be able to open the portal. It's also right here. Also, God of Time statue. God, I love that guy. The power of the demon world can warp the minds of men and stop the hands of time. In the time between seconds, reality is not what it seems. The dark forces can bend passages that once led to destinations into circles of infinite confusion. The hunter must seek out the active key post of the demon realm. 4 lights will open the door to the future and the past. So, a lot more there that could be used. But basically, notice here, stop the hands of time. Not stop the hands of time on the island. Not stop time localized. Time itself is stopped with the demon world's approach. In this context, because this is not natural. This is not natural what's happening in DMC2.
You didn't know.
Yusef, this is important. Okay, so first key to the doorway. Head across the street and strike the blue globe at the corner till all the white squares around turn purple. This is just one of the 4 globes that must be activated to open a gateway out of this warped version of Lucia's hometown. Now, they'll mention this a little further down the line, I believe. Yeah, they do. So, the appearance of Phantom in DMC2 is used to argue the entire timeline is being affected by Argo Sax. Well, no. It's more so along the lines that we're literally told that you have to open the door to the future and the past.
Not to mention the screenshot that they posted literally says gateway to the past. To reach the future, one must be willing to open the door to the past. Like, did they just like is blatancy not good enough now? Like
Gateway to the past to reach the future. Directly stated. Oh, that's rich.
Wait. Hey, I got another one. Ah, yes, a fond trip down memory lane, or not. After its dismal failures in the previous game, the Phantom has been granted another chance by the forces of darkness and time paradox to challenge the son of Sparda yet again. You just can't keep a good Magnus fighter down.
I'm sorry, Mangler. I'm seeing a word right before paradox. Could you confirm what that word is?
I think it's time.
Oh, that's crazy, Mangler. Only the island is being affected, and as we all know, Phantom died on Vita Mali, not Mallet Island, of course.
You guys want to know what's also kind of funny? Um, Argo Sax is stronger than Void Mundus. You want to know what statement Void Mundus has for what his capabilities are? He can yank Dante and Beryl out of space and time entirely. So, don't you think it'd be possible that Argo Sax, who is more powerful than him and
By a
has,
massive margin, thanks to some new information.
um, don't
Yeah.
you think it'd be possible that he could also yank demons out of space and time? Especially when we have a direct statement that the forces of darkness, whoever the fuck that might be during the events of 2, I wonder.
Also, just to clarify, they say right here that it's the work of the demon world, not Argo Sax. Argo Sax is consistently referred to by a credible source as an all-powerful, almighty god. So anything in the verse, he can do technically in the eyes of this very credible individual,
Also,
Arius. Also, he scales
also
above Void Mundus, so...
his description, the Japanese one that they want to very conveniently ignore, states that he has all the powers and abilities of every demon.
This would include things like the
So
Beast Heads, which we'll talk about later. This will include things like Sparda.
Mundus, Dante, Virgil,
Maybe Nero if you really want to stretch demon here.
and if you guys think we're lying, check out Argo Sax the Chaos's body, which has Griffin and Phantom's body on it, even though at this point they've been dead for 6 years.
And keep in mind that Griffin's not even in the game at all. Phantom at least came back earlier. Griffin never even shows up at any point.
Griffin literally has no appearance. He has no right to be
Griffin
there.
is just like, what the fuck am I doing here?
I
Yo, Argo Sax, this is not cool.
So understand, like, if their problem here is that, like, Argos, the demon world moving is not his involvement. He has the powers and abilities of every demon that can affect the demon world. He already has statements that he scales to Mundus, who has consistent feats of affecting the demon world. Like, there's so much evidence for him doing it, other than the fact that the demon world does not naturally move like that.
Yeah, so this is where
You
things
don't
get
even
important as well. The demon world, when it moves on its own, never does any of this shit. All of this shit is going on specifically when Argo Sax is involved. This never happens at any other point. And before someone says that's inconsistent, the demon world is literally open in every single fucking game, and we never see this shit happen.
This, again, like, if you want an example, DMC3, the portal opens, a bunch of blood goyles come out. Nothing happens to the world. Time space doesn't collapse.
DMC4, same situation. The portal is open.
Bunch of Mephistos come flying out, and they just start killing people in the town, and then they get slaughtered,
Or
and then
how about the very best one by far,
Fine.
because it's natural, DMC5. None of this shit happens whatsoever. Not even fucking close. Also, so this is where we gotta bring up a contradiction here. So, according to the DMC2 art book, it stated that he is the one who he manages to warp space on the island and open a door to the demon world. This
That's 3142 art book.
Yes, this is a more recent. Well, you can already tell there's a problem. 3142. This is before DMC5 retconned the timeline. Unfortunately.
Yes.
So here's the thing on the table. If you believe Arius is the one, like, let's say Arius did all this. Arius is physically moving the demon world with his own power, and he still considers Argo Sax a god. So by comparison, we have 2 Uni Plus characters at bare minimum, and Dante fodderizes one of them. So go ahead and have this. This just helps us out.
Dante shoots him to death, and he falls out of a building and has to be possessed by Arius's power. Argo Sax's power to save his life.
And then Lucia beats him at a more powerful level. So even if you want to argue... Also, by the way, this is actually wrong by the actual game itself. The ritual is incomplete. He does not open the door to the demon world at all. We literally get a direct statement from Lucia saying the ritual was incomplete, yet the door to the demon world is still open.
We also have just blatant evidence in the cutscene.
And
because Arius freaks the fuck out when the Arcana piece gets delivered, and he's like, "What?
Yeah.
You swapped them?"
The ritual is never complete to begin with. This shit shouldn't even be happening at all to begin with. But again, if you want to argue Arius is powerful enough to move the entire demon world and start this process, which is much more intense and probably the merging Mundus was going to do by himself, go ahead. I don't mind scaling Argus to Muni Plus.
I'd also like to point out, if they think Arius is responsible for it, why wouldn't you think Argo Sax could do the same thing?
Oh, hang on. Stop. Okay, so the thing unfortunately crashed again. It happens from time to time. But the point is that even if you want to say Arius did all that, Arius consistently refers to Argo Sax as an all-powerful god and one he needs to transcend everything.
Oh, I thought you didn't want to include that for other reasons. But
Well,
yeah,
I'm just clarifying the point that like Arius makes it very clear that the power of Argo Sax is far beyond him.
it's also not only narratively consistent that like he wants it, he's genuinely made it his life's goal to get Argo Sax. So why would you assume with like all of his research, the corporation he has at his disposal, and all the time and effort he's expended on this, that Argo Sax would be anything less than what he claims?
So
Like,
right
why?
here, the same, and also he should be a credible source of information since people like Chen, who he is in direct contact with, have incredible amounts of information about the demon world. Arius should scale to Chen's knowledge.
He's also proven correct about basically every single claim that he makes in
Yes,
the game.
even about Argo Sax, because I know a lot of people think that Dante casually beats Argo Sax, but according to the what's it called?
Trinity of Fate.
According to Trinity of Fates, Dante needs Majin form to beat Argo Sax. So Arius wasn't too far off there.
Arius was like, yeah, all powerful. I think that's fair.
Okay, so I want to clarify here. The same art book further reiterates is only the island that is in danger. Dude, the island could literally be the only thing that's in danger. It doesn't matter. The demon world is being directly affected by this. That's enough to scale them to that level, if not higher.
It's not what the scan says either.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and go through this. Dante is still running his handyman shop, and one day he's summoned to an art museum by a gorgeous redhead named Lucia. She invites Dante to Doomray Island. What? Is the city called Vita Mali?
No, Dumeri. The land is referred to as Vito Marley. Dumeri Island is the island that they own.
Okay, I was gonna say she invites. Okay, where he meets Lucia's mother, an old woman named Matiere. Matiere seems to know a lot about Dante's father Sparda and a demon king he once sealed called Argo Sax. Lucia and Matiere, meanwhile, are members of a clan responsible for protecting the island after Sparda genocided all their people. I'm sorry, I added that last part. Dumeri Island is controlled by the Ouroboros Corporation, whose CEO, Arius, is attempting to gather ancient treasures called the Arcana. He plans to use the artifacts to awaken Argo Sax, who is currently sealed in the demon world, and use the Demon King's power for himself. Matiere asks Dante to help her protect the island, so he begins searching for the Arcana as well. Lucia, however, doesn't think Dante's help is needed, so she goes off in pursuit of the Arcana as well. So they're arguing because of Matiere's own selfish desire, because her goal is to protect the island. She's only going to care about the island specifically when asking for help. They think that because it states that Matiere is only asking Dante to help protect the island, which by extension would protect the world, take that as Earth or whatever, I don't give a fuck for this moment. They think that's enough to say only the island is being affected. But I want to keep in mind the Ouroboros Corporation is bigger than it's a multi like fucking continent corporation. You really think Arius is only gonna stop at the fucking island?
Like, they have assets all over the world, but that's without mentioning, like, do you think Argo Sax would stop at the island?
It's his favorite island.
Mundus sure as hell did. Why the fuck would Argo Sax stop at the island? Why would you assume only the island's in danger? Because that's where the portal's starting.
Yeah, no, like, this is literally Matiere asking Dante, hey Dante, get the fuck over here, help me out, so this doesn't become a bigger problem than it needs to be, help me protect my island, and then you can, like, save the world or some shit.
Help me, help you.
The only argument in support for Argo Sax being connected to what is occurring is literally the fact that this never happens any other way, despite the Demon World opening in every single game, but whatever.
And only conveniently occurs around his
also
ritual.
Happens to occur despite the fact that he shouldn't have been freed from his seal, because the Arcanas weren't complete, therefore the ritual to free him should have failed to begin with, almost like he knew what was going on.
Random eclipse that's also stated to happen during the seal happens conveniently on the day that he gets released.
Also, should be worth knowing as well that again, none of that shit should be happening to begin with. He doesn't have the ritual to begin with.
Oh my god, why are we beating around the bush? These fuckers don't know what the hell they're talking about. Like, they're so wrong. Oh my god! Did they not play DMC2? Okay, that one's probably fair.
No, they
Well,
probably didn't play DMC2 because most people don't appreciate a good conceptual level game. Okay, whatever.
there's not good anything else.
Being connected to what is occurring is that its death seemingly undoes the warping effects on the island. The only thing that changes the color of the sky shown Lucia's ending. This is fallacious. The color of the sky is a direct indication of the warping going on. If the warping ceases, the color of the sky will return to normal. They're being very fallacious here with this one. If we are to believe that Argo Sax was involved, it would need to have first messed up the dimensional barrier between the barriers. It did, basically. Again. So just to clarify, to understand, ladies and gentlemen, what's going on here. The barrier should never have been fucked with. Arius did not have the complete set to break the seal. It should have done nothing. And yet, Argo Sax is able to break out still. And yet, even after Lucia confirms directly the ritual failed, the door was still open, Argo Sax is aware of this, and I'm gonna be honest, he's probably the guy who put all the shit there to fucking make everything speed up faster. Because again, none of this happens at any other point, and that is a little bit of headcanon to be fair, but again, Argo Sax should not be resurrected at all, because the ritual failed to begin with.
It's not headcanon because every other game has examples of the demon world not moving unnaturally. It always requires someone else to
also,
open it.
very convenient that for some reason, there's a bunch of random switches that appear that let you hit the demon world and get closer. Very suspicious, you know, that happens one time only and never occurs anything like that ever again. Very suspicious. Almost like there's a guy with, 5 IQ who wants to escape. If you're to believe Argo Sax was involved, it would have to merge, which is a chain reaction if the realms merge naturally then. The realms merge naturally over the course of several weeks at best to months. This is completely fallacious. Oh, the realms merge naturally. Looks at DMC5. The literal fucking doors open for a month. Nothing fucking happens.
Still in Redgrave.
The time hasn't stopped. Space sure as hell hasn't been warped around Redgrave. There are soldiers fighting there with no fucking spatial shit freaking them out.
Almost like when a higher dimension enters a lower dimension, it's not a natural thing that happens. So, like, someone needs to kind of give it a push.
Mangler, correct me if I'm wrong, but the sky looked pretty fucking normal in DMC5.
Yep. It's exactly the same. It just has a bunch of, like, trees in it.
It's almost like in DMC2, something completely different's going on. But no, that'd be crazy. That'd be crazy. Argo Sax dying would stop the dimensional tampering, thus ceasing the effect. Okay, so then he's sustaining it. Therefore, his AP is sustaining it. It is not an actual AP feat. How does Argo Sax death stop the actual effects from happening, but it's not an AP feat?
I think that kind of exploded inside of their brain when they were thinking about it. They're just like, I'll just put it down. Maybe they won't catch it.
If anyone from this blog, again, would like to discuss this more closely or would like to give reasonings or potentially, or say, like, we're misinterpreting anything here, please feel free to explain yourself. And again, if you'd like to get directly in contact with me, like, we can talk directly, but I doubt they care about this.
It's not going to happen.
Yeah, I know it's not going to happen. I'm just throwing the ball out there. Okay. Also, hello, Kyle. Welcome to Spirit. To prove the above point, this is Sacrilege. Yes. This will generate the distortion and bring the world closer to the demon world. Keep in mind right now, this is very important wording. This will generate distortion and bring the world closer to the demon world. This is bringing the human world, or the area of the human world, since it is the tower that gets affected mainly, that gets brought closer. Also keep in mind that Sacrilege only occurs after the world's already merged. Or more accurately, after you've opened the past and the future. That's when you get Sacrilege. Sacrilege creates a distortion that is used to bring the demon world closer to the human world. That's a lie. That is an absolute lie. Again, read their own scan. It brings the world closer to the demon world. We are not moving the demon world. We're moving at best the human world.
They just took the statement. They're like, why don't I just invert it? They won't notice.
This is completely different. You find 3 in Dante's mission. I don't know why you need 3, because you only need 2 to actually get out of there. I don't know where you even get the 3rd one at. Mangler said there was 3, but I've only ever found 2. in Arius' office building, and 2 in Lucia's mission. This indicates Arius has these items all along. Okay? If Arius has items that can merge the realms, as you're claiming, Arius still considers Argo Sax a god who's all-powerful and all-knowing. So, I would still scale Argo Sax above the items that can merge the realms. Okay, great. Where's your argument? Arius is stated to have been the one who warped space on the island. Again, go ahead. Like, fine. That doesn't change anything. Not Argo Sax. Again, this is where I mentioned earlier there's going to be a contradiction with higher canon. The higher canon confirms Arius didn't do it. Or more accurately, confirms that the thing that was supposed to do this was never correct to begin with. So it can't be the ritual or Arius doing it directly. Also, doesn't Arius get blasted by a beam from the sky? He gets blasted by a beam and then shoots it upwards, right?
Yeah, something like that.
He does that with the ritual that should never have activated to begin with because it was completely wrong from where to go.
I think the intention that you can say is that for the guidebook, it intended to say that Arius was supposed to warp space. It was the intention that Arius was supposed to cause what happened on Veda Marley. But because because the ritual failed, Argo Sax had to step in and break himself out. Because Arius wasn't willing to do it.
Even if you argue Arius warped space and everything going on is Arius is doing, he's still dragging the demon world closer with his own AP. So, okay. I'll take that. I'll upscale everyone off that. By all means, don't mind if I do.
This should be consistent with being stated that demons use a tear in space to cross over the island. That's not what the statement says.
So
it says it uses a tear in time-space.
Wait, hang on, Mingler. Are you suggesting they're leaving out information once more?
Well, one is a term that is equated to the fourth dimension, and the other is just space, which usually is three-dimensional.
It's native to dense southern rainforest, but the recent tear in space-time has brought some to Dumoray Island. Actually, so keep in mind that this guy appears way earlier in the game. So this means that Arius is already warping space before the ritual occurs.
Yep, he shows up. He shows up in like a mission when the sky's not even changed. Like Dante shows up in a subway station.
Yeah, so when the island still looks normal and everything, he's already warping space, completely different from what we see when the ritual occurs.
Also, we're assuming the what's his name, the Rangatara. We're assuming this guy showed up the moment Dante walked into the substation. It's entirely possible he was already there for like 30 minutes or something, and he'd been walking around, or he'd been in the area, and he sensed Dante and he went to his position.
I don't think they realize how these two actually hurt their argument, because if this Oranguri or fucking
the orangutan demon,
if this ape-like demon was already brought there via warps in space and time, which will be Arius' warps in space and time, and the world still looks normal, wouldn't that mean that when shit really hits the fan, it's most likely not Arius doing it, since we've seen the capabilities of his power already before the game even starts? Almost like there might be this weird, oddly attractive, half fucking, androgynous god there that, may or may not be doing this. It's a joke, don't kill me. It's also stated, but no, seriously, like, that actually hurts their argument more than they realized. It's also stated in the English DMC2 guide that Dante was called to seal rift between the worlds that had been forced open. Okay, so Arius is forcing the rift to begin with, but what we see during the mission is completely different from what Arius actually does. By their own logic. Yeah, to seal rift between the worlds and force demons that wish to enslave mankind back, Wait, his heritage is called upon once more to seal rift between the worlds forced by the demons that wish to enslave mankind. Arius is not a demon. So what is it? That's three different scenarios here. It's almost like it might, be it's almost like maybe it's probably just, just talking about the same source, which might be Argo Sax, but whatever. This is all consistent with Arius having tech spells that cause dimensional BFR. Closing the area, translucent magic balls begin to fly boulders. She is transported to a violent alternative. Oh yeah, that reminds me, Mingler. Yeah. So, I completely forgot. Arius sends Lucia to an alternate dimension.
Yep, he BFRs her there.
No. But that's not the demon world then.
No, it isn't.
So it's almost like you BFRs her to a separate timeline, or perhaps so
Yeah,
it's
it's almost like there's separate dimensions in the human world as well. And outside it, it's almost like we also have statements for this in MC2's instruction manual, which confirm there are countless number of gods that come from a different dimension.
almost like maybe there might be more universal space times that the other demon kings might know about, like this guy named Mundus. Don't mind me.
And maybe the demon world is just a higher dimension that's
And
not really accessible, and
and if
there's a normal,
Arius knows about it, well, the demon kings are certainly going to know about it.
especially since there's also statements accompanying the guidebook that confirms many of these gods fought in a great war, and some of them were killed, such as Bulwark, and came back after the fact as
Oh, Mangler,
demons.
you can call him by his real name. You can call him
Oh
Odin.
yes, I'm sorry, Odin. Bulwark is the name he tends to go by when Odin's trying not to draw attention to himself.
In short, Argo Sax did not merge any realms. All actual in-game evidence goes against them. And anyone who wants these claims supported, either play the games, look at the cutscenes for yourself, or if you have specific grievances, please put it in the comments down below, and I can get that for you guys in a separate video to show you guys.
I just realized 2 section is gonna have like a fuckload of stuff and the inconsistencies talking about why Argo Sax is responsible for it and not Arius, because people are gonna bring up the same shit there.
In short, Argo Sax did not merge any realms. It was Arius who opened the rift in which the demon world began bleeding to the human world. Again, the demon world doesn't bleed that way, and it certainly doesn't bleed that fast. As far as we know, Arius' entire efforts only occur over the course of like a week. Oh, going back to this scan. Oh, get ready for this one. This is opening the past to the future and the past. Literally direct statements. And the 4 lights moving the demon world. The lights saying the movement of the demon world is intensifying. Here we go. So this is the direct scan. You can feel the movement of the demon world intensifying to the extreme. That is the last one. There are 4. There are 4 you have to hit, and they all say the exact same shit, only that it gets closer and closer with each hit. So for context for this statement, or for context for this scenario, just so people understand what's going on, Dante is trapped in a time loop, or more accurately, both Lucia and Dante are trapped in a warped reality. In order to escape, they have to open the door to the past and the future by dragging the demon world closer. They do this 4 separate times, and there are 4 different orbs you have to hit, and they all say the same shit. The isn't referring to the entire demon world literally moving, but rather it's referring to Dante being able to leave the distorted space in Mission 16. You know what? Before we continue, let me head over here real quickly. I just want to show you guys something very brief. Very brief. Hang on. Okay, so let me go ahead and go to Discord real quickly. I'm just gonna go ahead and show them Mangler something called consistency. I'm sure you don't mind.
Consistency is important.
So right here, the movement of the demon world is slowly intensifying. You need to release 3 more powers in order to reach the demon world. Okay, you can feel the movement of the demon world intensifying even more. You need to release 2 more powers in order to reach the demon world. You can feel the movement of the demon world intensifying to the extreme. In order to reach the demon world, you need to release 1 more power. A demon pulse has been released, and you will be able to reach the demon world. Oh, we have some scan issues there with that one. So in all of these, it states that the demon world is moving. They could not be more blatant about this shit. It is literally moving every single time you hit these.
The feel is getting more intense every single time.
It doesn't say, you're almost free, open the 3 other doors to escape this place. It doesn't say, it could literally just say, you've opened 1 of the keys, open 3 more to escape. It could have just said that. It did not need to say this at all.
I had a hard time understanding when I played that game through that you were jumping forward in the past and the future to escape the demon world, or to escape the distortion being caused by this. But here's my thing. It was never any doubt in my mind that the demon world was moving because I just read the description. It was very obvious.
We are told the activation of the last one will let Dante access the demon world, and the game even says the 4 lights will open a door. Okay, so this is where we gotta talk a little bit again about
Door to what?
omissions not being contradictions.
A door to what, I wonder.
So again, 4 lights will open the sealed door, but will also invite the creepy to play. This is actually, I believe, the next mission, but I could be wrong. I could be wrong.
Hey guys, you want to know what that open the door scan is, as well as the other one? Those are from my TV. I took those screenshots.
That's my English
Don't
TV
re-
right there.
don't recall don't recall giving Cyber permission to use those, but okay.
Four, 4 lights will open the door to the future and the past. So keep in mind that is a blatant opens the door to the future and the past. To open the gateway out of this bizarre realm, you must locate 4 globes and strike them until a ring forms around each. Consistently stated they open a door, mark a portal, or make a portal, which is strangely consistent with what the Sacrilege does as well. No, it's not. The Sacrilege directly states that it will bring the world closer to the demon world.
The Sacrilege creates distortion to pull the human world towards the demon world. The portal just sends you backwards and forwards into the future. Okay, the demon world doesn't exist on the same scale of time that the human world is, not even linearly. So that's wrong.
Any actual movement of the demon world would be partially bleeding in of it through the dimensional barrier being messed with, not the entirety of it. Again, to clarify, the exact quote is, "You can feel the movement of the demon world intensifying." It's not saying you can feel the demon world opening. You can feel, no, it's moving. You are forcing it closer, as is what the Sacrilege does. It will bring the world closer to the demon world. Narratively, it also wouldn't make sense for Argo Sax to have merged the realms, as that would mean he would need to undo Sparda's seal, which we know from DMC 4, this blog has a lot of typos, is still intact years after DMC 2.
So were a lot of other seals, and yet demons can still make it past them.
So no, Argo Sax did not merge the realms. I mean, he was going to. We see him doing it at a rapid rate, and we literally dragged Demon World closer. And any object in DMC2 would scale below Argo Sax and Dante.
And he was literally the only thing that stopped him was that someone went in there and killed him. This is literally like arguing that, again, let me go back to the Cell example from Dragon Ball Z. Cell can't blow up the solar system, except now the reason is that he can't blow it up is not because we don't see him do it. It's because Gohan stopped him.
Again, this is also assuming that the merging wasn't occurring elsewhere. They have no proof it wasn't. They're just saying what they're claiming. Okay, so even if Argo Sax didn't fully merge the realms at this moment, he was going to. That's the problem. He was already well on his way to do it based on what we were seeing. You can say, like, the barrier survived that encounter, but the barrier gets consistently weaker over time anyways. So, you know, it's clearly not fucking made of impervious shit there. It's clearly taken some hits. Also, again, have merged the realms as that would mean to undo Sparda's seal? No, because the seal on Argo Sax was already broken by Argo Sax. So, like Mangler said, Sparda has multiple seals. Argo Sax just broke his seal and was going to merge the realms his way. Now, again, we don't see it fully happen because someone goes in there and Majins him to death, but
Also, why would they even use that as an example? Argo Sax's seal is one of the few ones that wasn't tied directly to Sparta's strength. They were tied to individual objects, being the Arcanas, for plot devices. They weren't tied to, like, the Sparta sword or any of Sparta's, like, inherent power. So, Sparta's not even, like Sparta's seals on the demon world wouldn't even be relevant here. Because the things that are sealing him are separate from Sparta's strength entirely.
Also, again, just to clarify here as well, the demon world never does this at any other point. It never merges this fast. Because if we assume this is what happens when they fully merge, or this is what they look like merging closer together, Argo Sax is forcing that merger at a rapid rate. He also, again, would be dragging the demon world closer, or he would scale above objects that can drag the demon world closer. So, again, affecting the direct demon world is all we really needed, and they do that. And again, Argo Sax would be facilitating this, or would have increased its speed immensely given our evidence of how demon world works in other areas. So even if Argo Sax didn't merge the realms, he was fucking going to. Do you want to talk about the moon shit or no?
No.
Okay.
Worthless, pointless nonsense. We've already gotten past this. There's so much. We still have so much stuff to do, and the moon, the eclipse happening. Like the eclipse, basic stuff about the eclipse. It's literally stated that there's one that's going to happen during that time, and there is again the day of the fucking ritual happens, an eclipse happens, doesn't go away until after they're like fucking breaking out, very conveniently. And so I don't uh I don't want
Also,
to do this
I don't
position
know.
argument.
The ritual being incomplete, again, just helps our arguments that Argo Sax is doing this, because Arya shouldn't have had the power to do this. None of this should have happened. The ritual was incomplete to begin with.
Oh, I love how they go into a full response section for that. Like one last point on the eclipse, they go into a full response section for that, but yet they felt the need. They felt like Argo Sax required like I guess less of a blog to go over,
Yep.
even though he's narratively vastly more important than the fucking eclipse.
So again, a lot of these points are either missing direct context from the game, ignoring context from the game, or just they are just like straight up adding their own interpretation to a direct statement.
I must have been playing on easy mode.
Okay, so here's the Mundus universe making feat. Gotta love it. There's not a single guide or character comment that says the place this final fight takes place in is created by Mundus. Oh, wonderful. In fact, it's guides and character comments that say just the opposite. Oh, just the opposite. Get ready for this one. As Mundus flapped his wings, the temple instantly lost its existence and the world was enveloped in a sea of stars. Only the two sides were facing each other in the vastness of space. The below image offers two different translations of this guide page. This is a Japanese one. Unleashing the magic power from the profound field of his mind and body, Dante transformed his body into a demon. He kicked the ground and took off into the infinitely expanding dark sky. In his deep diamond eyes, he saw only the dark gray figure of the demon emperor. In a realm beyond human comprehension, oh, that one's gonna be rich, don't worry, ladies and gentlemen. A legendary battle has now begun. Unleashing his magic from the deepest places of his mind and body, Dante transformed his body into a demon. He kicked the earth and took off into the dark sky that stretched endlessly. In that crimson evasion, the only reflection of the demon emperor's dark gray figure in his crimson aperture. In the mirror realm beyond human knowledge, the legendary battle has now begun. The realm that Dante and Mundus are in is described as either a realm beyond human comprehension. Oh, this is going to be one of their most richest moments. Or a mirror world beyond human knowledge. Even better. Both of these work just fine for what's about to happen. So, big mindplosion reveal. This description is referring to the demon world. Now, hang on, Mangler. Don't react yet, Mangler. Let me finish.
Mm-hmm.
Not some world that Mundus created, but the demon realm itself. These descriptions of beyond human comprehension actually fall in line with our descriptions of the demon world. So, they got DMC2 can warp the minds of men and stop the hands of time. Reality is not what it seems. And circles of infinite confusion. This is directly referring... Actually, the dark forces can bend passages that once led the real destinations into circles of infinite confusion. This is not being able to comprehend it. This is you can't get out. This is directly referring to the loop. That's not infinite confusion here does not mean you can't understand what's happening to you. It's that you don't know how it's happening to you, essentially. Because again, this is referring to the loop Dante's stuck in. But you might go thinking, well, how do we know this is the demon realm and not another realm? The thing about the demon realm, which is supported in the above image, is that the demon realm is made up of a bunch of circles, dimensions of hell, and Mundus just likely took Dante to one of these circles. For instance, Burial is king of one of these realms, king of the fire hell. Furthermore, the Japanese game guide says Dante was transported to this realm. After meeting Mundus here, he is sent to the Demon Emperor's space heaven and enters the battle with the first form of Mundus. Alternate translation. After meeting Mundus here, you will be transported to the Demon Emperor's space heaven to fight the first form of Mundus. So, before I continue further going over these translations, Mangler, would you like to say something about realm beyond human comprehension or mirror world beyond human knowledge?
Well, so we're gonna have to talk about before we go to the human comprehension. We first have to talk about the whole demon realm thing. You're already in the demon world. You did they play DMC one? Okay, so let me explain this for people who understand DMC are like blatantly dishonest stupids or just idiots in general. In Mission 19, you literally enter the underworld, and you're well, at least I think it's technically Mission 20. Yeah, no, you enter it, and you basically go inside, and you fight Nightmare afterwards. Then you get to Mundus's palace. Then he opens up a space that's there, so you're already in the demon world at that point. He's not in, and I know they're going to say later there's like the mirror world. He's not in the mirror world. It's something completely separate.
To clarify, they do try and argue that he sent Dante to another one of these circles of the demon world, but that doesn't really make sense because
Doesn't make sense with how it's described. Also, if he did, you'd still have to assert that he created that realm because he has access to it freely. And demons, typically speaking, when they make a realm, actually, first of all, when demons BFR you, they BFR you individually. They don't BFR themselves together. That's already a red flag.
yeah, it also again, and I'm sure if you paid attention to DMC debates on this one already, you probably already heard this argument. But this looks completely different from any other BFR or any other teleportation we have ever seen in the series.
Like, why would you BFR yourself together and reality warp the entire environment? And then go fly off into the area that you BFR'd instead of just BFRing your enemy. That does that doesn't make any sense.
Also, if Mundus could BF, because speaking of mind, Mundus BFR Sparda Dante, who'd be massively stronger than him and faster, so most likely BFR wouldn't even have worked on him to begin with. If he really got BFR'd. But going a little bit here, so they call the demon world a place beyond human knowledge and human comprehension.
Oh boy. Okay, so that
You want to bring in the A
is
squad, Mangler, the triple A
so
squad?
wrong. So you guys know that you want to know fun fact about all the antagonists in DMC series. The at least in the first like yeah, all the games from like DMC2 to DMC4, all three of the main antagonists all start with the letter A. Arius, Agnes, and Arkham. Something they have in common. You want to know what else they have in common? The demon world is not beyond their comprehension. So
Especially since Arius can even apparently warp it.
yeah, Arius can warp it. Arius has extensive knowledge on the ritual involving Argo Sax. He knows how to bring it there. He knows where all the arcanas are. He knows like literally everything there is to know about this. And he's a CEO of a corporation that is mixing science with like is literally mixing science with like magic.
Yeah, that's
And he's
that's
a
actually stated for a
sorcerer.
description as well for one of the
He's a
monsters.
sorcerer. He's literally stated to be a modern sorcerer that is also the CEO. So
And even with that in mind, then we get to Arkham, who I'm pretty sure has much more knowledge than Arius.
Arthur has blatant statements in his description that say he is like he literally has a profound knowledge of the demon world. How the fuck do you argue that he's beyond human comprehension or that the demon world itself is beyond human comprehension?
And if I'm not
He
mistaken,
literally
oh, go
well, actually, hang on. No, 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 no. You remember that stupid scan that they brought up where they well, it's right below the scan that they brought up. But I don't know if I sent it to you directly. No, I didn't. So when he's talking to Virgil in DMC3's manga, when he's explaining demons' names and the origins of their names, he actually directly states, very briefly, he
Are you,
states a very interesting conversation.
would it suggest perhaps a level of understanding of the demon world?
So he says it's different in the official translation. He just says, moreover, unlike a common demon, Sparta had great intellect. And then you look at the actually wait, no, is that the official translation or the Yeah, no. That's the alternate translation. This is the official one. So the official one directly states by Arkham himself. Oh God, it's taking a long time to go through these scans.
It's fine. I'll just merge both videos together.
He says Virgil's just like such a thing is impossible. Not for Sparda. Sparda is power without equal. Elder demons are but gnats beneath his notice, and Sparta possessed many qualities unheard of to the demon world. How the fuck does this guy who doesn't know anything about the demon world, that's completely beyond his comprehension,
And
not only
knowledge.
stating yeah, that beyond his knowledge, stating that demon Sparta's powers without equal, elder demons are literally like trash to him, and he possesses qualities that are unheard of to the demon world itself. How do you know about them if the demon world doesn't?
Now, so right there, completely human. Demon world is not beyond human knowledge. And Arkham probably knows all the circles of hell if he knows about what elder demons can
Also,
do, because we never even
also,
fucking hear about those fuckers.
you guys want to know what else is interesting? Wait. There's another one.
Oh,
We
there's
got
another one.
Alan Lowell. Alan Lowell. So this alchemist thought it'd be really cool if he could just like seal away a demon king that's stated to be on the same level of power as Sparta with just pure alchemy, and he could create amulets that could turn demons to ash just by touching them.
And in case you think that's not enough humans who can comprehend the
Wait,
demon
no.
world,
There's more. There's more.
but wait,
So
there's more. We got three more still.
no. So we're not even getting to Chen. I just mean on the alchemy thing. So in fourth novel, Lady confirms there is literally a spell era that is dedicated to alchemy that existed at the point in time, and Arkham knows about it. What? He's also profound in the dark arts of magic, almost like he has a knowledge of the demon. And
Almost
then
like it's not beyond his comprehension, would you dare say?
now we get to Agnes, who is the most embarrassing thing against this argument. Because well, Chen is kind of pushing it, but I think Agnes is easily the most embarrassing example because Agnes, just for context, is the chief researcher of the Order of the Sword. He has been stated to be the only person who exists in the Bureau of Research. No one else works in that entire department. He literally works in Fortuna Castle every day alone by himself. No one helps him at all. He picks up this fucking shard of armor from Angelo 10 years after the battle, looks at it and is like, this is from the Black Knight. He disappeared after he died. He also died in a battle. And yeah. And it's just like, how do you know that? You weren't there. You weren't a witness. That doesn't make any sense. And then,
And
hang on.
he's still going.
He's also confused about Yamato. He picks up Yamato and he's able to determine this is not that this blade cannot be fixed normally because it's already improved with magic. It's not any of the two types of devil arms because it doesn't follow the logistics of them. It's not made by a demon and it already has a magic power improved within it. And he basically explains the step-by-step process of which devil arms are made and created and actually different categories that they are fit into
Are you
and
serious?
why this thing yes, he literally explains verbatim how devil arms are made and how they exist. He also constructed all the weapons for the Order of the Sword, which includes the Red Queen and the Angelo armors, which are literally created for the purpose of killing demons. You want to know what demons are capable of killing? The assaults, who are referred to as elite ranking demons that scale above the frost, created by Mundus himself, and Argo Sax, um, what's his fucking name? Agnes can just get this piece of armor. I'm like, I'm just gonna make a couple copies by binding like a demon soul from hell that I took, and I'm just gonna like make an armor out of it that scales above some of the strongest lesser demons in the verse.
And this is also on top of the fact that he also made a fake Hellgate to replace the real
He made
ones.
three. He made three fake Hellgates.
He was able to create synthetic demons, completely original demons that he created. And I believe there's even a statement in
Bonus
the guide,
round.
in the description, that he even potentially created his own demon world, right, Mingler?
No, there's not a potential. It is stated directly in the 314 art book that he is an artificial demon world. You know how in this boss fight he opens a portal and he summons demons? That's from a. He literally created his own time space dimension.
Are you saying, Mangler, that the guidebook they reference, that they are claiming the demon world is beyond human comprehension, has a guy make his own fake copy of it or his own artificially created version?
And this wasn't apparently enough for them because then his daughter years later comes by and he's like, I need his notes. I need his notes to see what he was getting into. And also, V gave her a horn from a demon,
That
and
she's
she was
never seen before.
she's never seen before, knows nothing about, doesn't know the name of or any of the properties. Less than an hour passes, and she made a device that can control time. I
It's almost like just, and again, so just to clarify, even if you think Agnes was a demon when he did all that shit, which is very debatable, we don't know when he took the Ascension
Nico
ceremony.
is 100% human, and his biological daughter.
Yeah.
Um,
Has the
it
exact
was
same
made
properties and can do the exact same shit. This entire demon world being beyond human knowledge and comprehension is complete bullshit. Even if you want to argue for a minute that like, oh, it's in a realm of hell they don't know about, you gotta prove that.
also that was before he had Nico before he went to Fortuna when he was still working for the Ouroboros Corporation.
Oh, you mean that corporation run by Arius?
That one that did business dealings with Chen. Also, do we want to explain Chen?
No, no, no. I think we've made our point clear. Chen's a little. Chen is the demon world.
I think Agnes is kind of just like the embarrassment because he's just like I can just do whatever I want because if I see something in the entire life story, whether or not it ate, slept, or took a dump in the last like 24 hours just by looking at it.
Agnes is the primary source embarrassment to this argument, but we have Chen, who I would argue is probably slightly worse because Chen's understanding of demons as a whole is just as good as Agnes's, if not slightly better. Because he's able to clone Sparda.
I think Chen's is more embarrassing because Chen's is an example of what happens if you took a researcher that's pretty intelligent, not genius level, but pretty intelligent, and you just gave him time. You just gave him a fuckload of time and a fuckload of
Well,
research.
he's not even researching it himself because he has a team of scientists who don't,
I know.
regular humans
I know.
who analyze the beast heads. You know that thing that
Yep.
can. Well, we'll save that for later. Okay, so again, they're saying that because it does not directly state that Mundus created it, it is therefore a contradiction. But again, omissions are not contradiction. Kamiya's statement that he created the realm does not contradict any of this. Right here. After meeting Mundus here, he is sent to the Demon Emperor Space Heaven and enters the battle with the first form of Mundus. After meeting Mundus here, you will be transported to the Demon Emperor Space Heaven to fight the first form of Mundus. Notice how it does not say Mundus created the portal. Note how it does not say Mundus teleported them. Its specific statements are that the temple lost its existence and the world was enveloped in a sea of stars. Only
Also,
two sides were facing each other. So basically, you can be sent or transported if Mundus just creates it around you. Because if Mundus creates the dimension around you, you've fundamentally been sent to a space and you have been transported. You yourself just haven't moved. He's moved it around you.
first of all, if something loses its existence, is it not gone?
No,
If
man,
something
that part of the translation doesn't exist for them. That part of the translation is bad for their argument, so it does not exist.
I guess if I enveloped an entire space in a sea of stars spontaneously after the previous state, right before me, lost its existence entirely, that'd probably be creation, right?
Nope, not Mangler. Teleporting whatsoever. It's complete teleportation.
Teleportation. Also, it's referred to as the Demon Emperor Space Heaven, so why the fuck wouldn't you think that he created it? It's named after him!
And I want to point out, this space is named after him when you've literally entered his throne room before the fight starts.
It's not the space I rented from Argo Sax. It's the Demon Emperor Space Heaven.
This is rent free. I don't have to pay for this one. Okay, so after Mundus explodes in this world, Dante just kind of appears back in the tower, which isn't explained. To clarify, there is no version of this feat where this is ever explained. Because if Mundus teleported Dante there, it's never explained how he gets back. If Mundus created it and then it crashed, if Mundus creates a dimension and it gets destroyed when he's being killed or when he's when he's like injured badly, that is explainable and makes sense to some degree. Arguing it's teleportation and Dante randomly came back for no reason whatsoever it's not very good. Not a very good place to stand on. But later, Mundus rips a hole through a hole all fucked up from exploding. Says the gate has been opened. This is from the gate has been opened. Dante, you're not getting away. This is where you will die. This is in reference to the fact that Dante did not close the door behind him when he's running away from the explosion. And if he came from the same dimension he just fought Dante in, then that means the gate he just opened from is the demon world, as was his goal the entire game. Again, these fucking idiots don't understand that by the time... Okay, so, actually, fun fact here. When Mundus comes back, you're in the human world. When you meet Mundus the first time, as Mangler already stated, you're in the demon world.
Even before you get into his palace, you're in the demon world. You're just in a separate dimension of the demon world. Because the dimension...
So he did not come from the same dimension he just fought Dante in. So, no. It is argued the sigils he uses here are what he uses exclusively for dimensional travel. Yes, that would be consistent with what we see visually. But they are most likely to bypass the barrier between the worlds. The barrier is gone. The portal is open on the island.
Just saying. Like when you're in that mission where you're running out, it's a timed section where you have to escape the castle. And when you leave Trisha's corpse and you go through the portal, you do not close it behind you. The door is open.
The dimensional wall between the demon world and the human world can be said to be like a net. High-ranking demons cannot come unless favorable conditions have been met due to their power, but low-ranking demons... this net doesn't make sense, because if you're arguing the net is there, why would he say the gate has been opened?
I don't know.
It's almost like these two contradict each other. But omissions are contradictions.
Like, my bad. It's almost like portals that are opening, that connect portions of the worlds directly, completely ignore the net anyway. So it doesn't.
It's, I'm just saying that if the favorable conditions were met for the net to let him through, why would he say the gate was opened?
Dude, wasn't that what's happening the entire fucking game? There is a ship on DMC1 that can send you to the demon world.
This is consistent with this statement saying that when Dante sealed Mundus, he also sealed the breach between both realms. That is inconsistent, actually. So right here. So new first rules of any kind. With the combined strength of his father's heritage and the weapons of the devils that were passed down to him, Dante reclaimed the powers buried within him and followed in his father's footsteps. Dante defeated Mundus and his devils and sealed the breach between the mortal realm and the underworld. Yes, because they blew up. That problem actually solved itself, ironically enough.
You can still have this here, and there wouldn't be an inconsistency because you could just argue that Argo Sax or Abigail fucked it up 6 years later.
Or you could just argue that when Dante does seal Mundus, that for some reason that closes the door he left open a while back over there. Or maybe Trish closed the door after Mundus already escaped, since Trish shows up after the fact.
We would just interpret it as like Dante, when he seals them, is using, since he's using Sparda strength, that he would be resealing the barrier at this moment. That he's repairing it temporarily.
One argument for creation...
I'm saying that's completely fine, because it just gets broken 6 years later by a character that's stronger than he was during that game anyway. So it's completely consistent. No inconsistency. Moving on.
One argument for creation is that stars appear after the portal opens behind Mundus and are not immediately present. This is true. Looking at the scene, there's really nothing to indicate this.
Wrong.
You know what? I had a big debate with Cyber over this one. I'm not going to bring it up again. Looking at the scene, there's really nothing to indicate this. If you have eyes, you can see what this original point is. More stars appear as the effect expands across the room, but going off the interpretation that it's a portal, it's not. You have to prove that. This is because those stars are obscured by the edge of the portal. They're not. If you actually pay attention to the screen where Mundus is at, even in spots that would have already appeared before the stars appear, like, okay, so here is, okay, so let's say my face right here is the portal opening. When it expands like this, more stars appear. But when it's here, spaces where stars end up appearing should already be there if it's teleportation. But they don't appear till it's out here. It's very clearly creation-based, and this is supported by Kamiya's tweet, which they get into. There's a glow effect just within the outer rim of the... You can watch this for yourself. And you know what? I encourage you guys. Watch this for yourself and come to your own conclusion on this one. This one doesn't really matter too much because, again, we go off Kamiya's tweet, which is fine. Now into Kamiya's tweet. The real big issue with Kamiya saying universe is that multiple versus debaters are literally putting suggestive phrasing and words in his own mouth. Okay. Don't take this the wrong way for the guy who asked for permission for this. But I've debated Kamiya's tweet for 3 to 4 years now. And... I'm going to be honest here. So I'll go through this very briefly. If you don't know what Kamiya's tweet is, thankfully, here we go. During DMC 1, Mundus performs a feat where he seemingly creates stars and constellations. Is it accurate? Kamiya retweets universe. He is consistent with that universe answer and consistently answers other questions with universe in mind. Which, to be fair, if we go with the interpretation that this is the demon world, then it is a... Okay, hang on. Let me read this real quickly. Never mind. Okay, these arguments are pretty fucking stupid. Let's take a look at this. The real big issue from Kamiya saying universe is that... For those not in the know, these are typically referred to as leading questions. This is based on the interpretation of the person in question, and more specifically based on their interpretation that they deem fit for. Where a person...
I was going to say, there's nothing leading about this question that indicates they're trying to get something like... Yeah, they have a desired answer, because they're saying, like, they're typically referred to leading questions where a person would ask something in such a way that they would get regardless of what it is. Okay. Let me ask this question, and you decide for yourself if this is leading. During DMC 1, Mundus performs a feat where he creates stars and constellations. Is this accurate? Does that seem leading? Do I seem like I'm leading you somewhere? Like, I'm asking you if something is being done.
Even if you want to argue it's leading, the question is leading towards solar system. He did not have to answer universe.
Universe has nothing to do with stars and constellation. He did not ask him to do that. There's this question up above, which says, I have a question about DMC for the moment. In the battle of the final boss of DMC 1, is the dimension made by Mundus the same as the whole universe? The whole world, whole universe of this world, or is it a compact dimension included in the castle's former? So, clarification that one's still like valid, but like again, that one's a little bit more like specific. This one has nothing to do with the universe at all. Kamiya just clarifies universe.
Okay.
It's a clarification question.
Yeah, again, he is consistent with his answer. We have multiple tweets confirming this. This actually ends up backfiring, as Kamiya not only has a reputation of being a massive Twitter troll, only on occasion, of course, only when you guys want to call him a troll. I didn't say that. But he doesn't say he created a universe or Mundus created this universe. He just says universe. Yes, because anyone with a brain cell would already see that creating something is in the question. So Kamiya can just say, okay, this is Twitter. Now, if this was any other platform, I could see their argument better. But Twitter has a word cap on how you can answer, especially if you retweet like this. Which, to be fair, if we go with the interpretation this is the demon world, it's not, then it is a universe. No, it can still just be a universe just fine. However, Mundus didn't create a final universe battleground for his fight with Dante. It was a universe that already existed, which is why Kamiya says universe, because it is. No. The guy's asking if Mundus created something, and Kamiya responds with universe.
So the funny thing here is that they're arguing basis of omission and a basis of a claim of blatancy. So by omission, these things don't work because they're contradicted, and ergo, if Kamiya doesn't blatantly say, if he doesn't say exactly these words, he created a universe, because they literally say, he didn't say he created a universe, or Mundus created a universe, he just says universe, meaning their burden of proof is that he has to exactly say those words, he created a universe.
Yes.
So why the fuck would you assume that's a universe that was already there? That's not what he says either.
Also, just to clarify as well, that universe looks nothing like the demon world we've ever seen before in any capacity.
And we never see things like that ever again.
And going a bit further beyond that for a minute, Kamiya hates power scaling questions. He will troll power scaling questions to Kingdom Come. But this is not a power scaling question. He does say perform a feat, but this is more of a clarification than anything else. And again, right here we go. This is especially aggravating because each time he's asked this very same question in an attempt to goad him to say he creates this universe, he just sends the tweeter back to the original post. Almost like he's already answered the question, and he gets asked it so often, he has this on speed dial. And he does. A couple years back, one of my viewers actually asked Kamiya the answer, and he got blocked almost immediately with Kamiya retweeting back this answer. So this guy has his answer on fucking speed dial.
Also, Kamiya has a rule set for his questions that he asks. Like you're not allowed to ask him repeated questions, or he will block you and retweet your answers. That is one of the rules when you tweet him. So, whether you argue he's a troll, not applicable here. He literally has conditions and prerequisites under which you need to talk to him, and he has ways in which he will respond. So if there are rules of engagement with how he chooses to talk to you, and you're just asking for clarification on something that he's already answered, and he keeps repeating the same one years after the fact, kind of probably a pretty big indication that he's content with that answer.
Hang on. By the way, the movie part made by the outsourcer is the part of Crystal Ball Goes to Mallet Island at the beginning, and Stone Statue Cracked Mundus appeared, Goes to Temple appeared in space. This is not a confirmation that it was just teleportation. This is him referencing the cutscenes in question as what occurs in the cutscenes as like a more like director standpoint. This isn't him saying Dante teleported into space. This is him saying that the guys who made the outsourced material is literally the stone statue cracking Mundus, and then when the temple goes into space. Which again, even if you want to say the temple appeared in space, that contradicts their earlier guidebook statement that they used for like evidence. Also, very convenient they don't mention the rest of that context to show that he's talking about the cutscene specifically and not specifically what happens in that statement. Very convenient. Kamiya also hasn't had any input in the canonicity of events in the series since he left. No, this is only in reference to 2 through 5, and he's also has shown up for 5 a little bit, so he has stuck around somewhat.
That is false. That is literally a lie. We have literally seen photos of him with Insuno at various conferences, public and otherwise. We've also gotten direct statements from him direct statements about him from Insuno in interviews after the game's release.
Oh, stop!